Thank you, Karen. Such an extraordinary woman. Thank you so much, Karen. Isn't she fun? She's just a lovely woman. Such a dear friend. Before we go any further, I would like to acknowledge the fact that there's an elephant in the room. And we should just acknowledge it. His name's Horton. And he had my father's rich, gentle Southern voice. My dad used to ask me to go pick up a book, pick out which book I wanted to read, and I'd bring it to him, and he'd get me all numbed into the crook of his arm, and it felt like elephant's angel wing ears were holding me. And he would teach me about Maisie the lazy bird hatching her egg, and the who's. And he taught me there that a person's a person no matter how small. And that I meant what I said, and I said what I meant, an elephant's faithful 100%. And when he said those words to me, he would look into my eyes because he read the book 1,000,000 times, at least. But he would look at me, and I knew that it was him speaking, and I knew that he would be there for me, and he would go to the ends of the earth. And that's a really important lesson to learn when you're 6 years old. How many of you have had Dr. Suess in your home? How many of you still have Dr. Suess in your home? Yay, not so many hands went down as I thought. If your hand went down, I suggest you remedy that. I credit Dr. Suess with allowing me to laugh through a lot of life's lessons. He taught me my ABCs and my 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. But he taught me a lot of larger life lessons as well, and he allowed me to laugh through them. The Cat in the Hat, some of you may not know, was actually penned because he thought that Dick and Jane were boring. And they were. Dick and Jane were boring. And a friend of his challenged him to write a children's book that involved 225 of the vocabulary words that new readers needed to learn. So The Cat in the Hat was penned. Cat in the Hat is not boring. Cat in the Hat is so not boring. And what a blessing he was. Dr. Suess was born Theodor Geisel, and his writing career began when he was in college. He went to Dartmouth, and he was writing for the humor magazine there. But then he and a bunch of his buddies got busted drinking gin, and it was prohibition. Big no-no. They didn't get expelled from Dartmouth, but they did get their extracurricular activities rescinded. So he had to start writing under the pseudonym Suess, which is actually how you pronounce it. It was pronounced Suess, which rhymes with a voice. But he allowed people to just mispronounce it because he had started writing children's books. Suess rhymed with goose, Mother Goose, Dr. Suess. It worked. Ironically, the doctor in front of his pen name came from the same college that rescinded his original name. They gave him an honorary doctorate in 1956, and he added it to his pen name because his father had always wanted him to be a doctor. So he became Dr. Suess. After his initial pennings of the humor magazine for Dartmouth, he went on to write for Life. He wrote for Vanity Fair, he did cartoons for the Saturday Evening Post, litany of other things. When the war came, you might remember him from Private Snafu. Does anybody remember Private Snafu? They were Army training videos that he collaborated with Mel Blanc on. Mel Blanc of Bugs Bunny fame. So I highly recommend you go on to Google and look up Private Snafu. They have one with, it's called The Booby Trap. And it's kind of a Jessica Rabbit, kind of voluptuous kind of woman. And it's warning the privates not to be taken in by somebody that might be trying to sell enemy secrets. And he ended up getting the Legion of Merit for that. And ironically, we know him for so many things. He was always promoting equality among whites and blacks and Jews, but during the war, he was vehemently against the Japanese, and he supported their internment during World War II. It wasn't until after the war that he became friends with a Japanese man, and he actually wrote Horton Hears a Who as an allegory to Hiroshima. And he dedicated it to a Japanese friend of his. In doing my research for this project, I began to see him as something of a rabbi. He spoke in parables that even, that a child or even a hard-headed, prejudiced adult could understand. And he wrote them for both audiences. I always wondered why my dad always laughed harder than I did at the cartoons of Bugs Bunny or something like that. And it's because there is all that adult humor. So doing this, I got to revisit things and more came out than I had ever recognized as a child. President Obama was recently addressing a group of young interns, and he said, pretty much all the stuff you need to know you learn from Dr. Seuss. I'm doing a terrible Obama impersonation. He said, the star-belly sneetches, why should anyone treat anyone differently just because they don't have a star on their belly? And I remember the sneetches, and we're the best kinds of sneetches on the beaches, and with their snoots in the air, they'd sniff and they'd snort. We'll have nothing to do with the plain-bellied snort. And the poor little non-star bellies, they didn't have stars on theirs. But he also talks about, more than prejudice, he talks about materialism and greed. The Onceler taught us about so much. Vanity, Gertrude McFuzz with her one little droopy little feather. And then she gets all of those feathers sprouting out of her backside, and then she realizes that she can't fly anymore. And so maybe just the one was exactly what God wanted her to have. The Lorax turned me into a tree hugger when I was 12. And the Onceler taught us with deep regret about how his materialism not only decimated the truffula trees, but the barbaloots in their barbaloot suits. And the swanny swans. And the humming fish. And it destroyed not only the environment, but his own business. And he handed that last truffula tree seed to a little boy, saying, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to change. It's not. The butter battle was in response to the Cold War. And Yertle the Turtle was Adolf Hitler. He wrote more than 60 books, and he was translated into 20 different languages. And I was trying to find out what religion he was, and he apparently kind of poo-pooed religion, but he said people read too much into his books, claiming that kids can see a moral coming a mile off. But he also said there's an inherent moral in any story. But the Grinch didn't steal Arbor Day. The Grinch didn't steal St. Fizen's Day. Grinch stole Christmas, which made me think he maybe had some inklings. My dad, unfortunately, morphed from Horton into the Grinch after my mom died. And it wasn't until he was diagnosed with cancer that I came home to his cave. And he had just turned into this reclusive, alcoholic, just God bless him mess. And he didn't like Christmas anymore because Mom wasn't there to make it wonderful. But I don't mean to turn myself into a Cindy Lou Who, but I came home and I started telling him stories about a different teacher who told parables. And the day that I saw his heart grow 3 sizes, it's one of the coolest kicking days of my life. I kind of think of Horton as, I think God is kind of like Horton, straining his ears to hear our tiny voices from this speck of dust that we're on, trying to find us in the field of flowers. And I'm thankful for that, because he meant what he said, and he said what he meant, and he's faithful 100%. Let's read a story. This is one of his last ones. Oh, the places you'll go. This is a popular gift among graduating students. I love this book. Congratulations. Today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. And you're on your own. You know what you know, and you're the guy who'll decide where you'll go. You'll look up and down streets, look them over with care. About some you will say, I don't choose to go there. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to go down any not-so-good street. And you may not find any you'll want to go down. In that case, of course, you'll head straight out of town. I didn't know I was going to have to hold my microphone. I was going to hold this up, but... Okay. It's opener there, in the wide open air. I just love his art. Out there, things can happen, and frequently do, to people as brainy and footsy as you. And when things start to happen, don't worry. Don't stew. Just go right along. You'll start happening too. Oh, the places you'll go. You'll be on your way up. You'll be seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers who soar to great heights. You won't lag behind because you'll have the speed. You'll pass the whole gang, and you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be the best of the best. Wherever you go, you will top all the rest, except when you don't. Because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch and your gang will fly on. You'll be left in the lurch. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump. And chances are then that you'll be in a slump. And a slump? When you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. You will come to a place where the streets are not marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they're dark. A place you could sprain both your elbow and chin. Do you dare to stay out? Do you dare to go in? How much can you lose? How much can you win? And if you go in, should you turn left or right and 3/4, or maybe not quite, or go back and sneak in from behind? Simple it's not, I'm afraid you will find, for a mind maker upper to make up his mind. You can get so confused that you'll start into a race down long, wiggled roads at a breaknecking pace and grind on for miles across weirdish, wild space, headed, I fear, towards the most useless place. The waiting place. For people just waiting. Waiting for a train to go, or a bus to come, or a plane to go, or the mail to come, or the rain to go, or the phone to ring, or the snow to snow, or waiting around for a yes or a no, or waiting for their hair to grow. Everyone is just waiting. Waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for that wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake, or a pot to boil, or a better break, or a string of pearls, or a better pair of pants, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone is just waiting. No, that is not for you. Somehow you'll escape all that waiting and staying. You'll find the bright places where boom bands are playing. With banner flip-flapping once more, you'll ride high, ready for anything under the sky, ready because you're that kind of guy. Oh, the places you'll go. There's fun to be done, there are points to be scored, there are games to be won, and the magical things you can do with that ball. You will make the winningest winner of all. Fame! You will be famous! As famous can be, with the whole wide world watching you on TV, except when they don't. Because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too, games you can't win, because you'll play against you. All alone, whether you like it or not, alone will be something you'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet some things that scare you right out of your pants. There are some down the road between hither and yon that can scare you so much you won't want to go on. But on you will go, though the weather be foul. On you will go, though your enemies prowl. On you will go, though the hacking cracks growl. Onward up many a frightening creek, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers may leak. The hacking cracks. On and on you will hike, and I know you'll hike far and face up to your problems, whatever they are. I love how he pats him on the nose. You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with many strange birds as you go. So be sure when you step. Step with care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. Just never forget to be dexterous and deft, and never mix up your right foot with your left. And will you succeed? Yes, you will. 98 3/4% guaranteed. Kid, you'll move mountains. So be your name Buxbaum or Bixby or Bray or Mordecai Ali, Van Allen, O'Shea, you're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting. So, get on your way. And in conclusion, I would like to encourage all of you, if you've got those books on your shelves, get them out and read them aloud. Just to yourself. Or read them to somebody that you love. It doesn't have to be a child. Read it aloud, because it does something to your brain when you do that. Chemicals get released that make you smile and heal. It's a good thing. So I want to say, happy birthday, Dr. Seuss. And thank you. Don't be sad that it's over. Smile because it happened.